Hello, my name is Bella and welcome to the 100 Acre Wool Knitting Podcast, where I talk to you about all of the things I've been making recently, usually knitting, sewing, or fiber arts related. So this week I'm really excited. I have a finished object to show you guys, and also a few new works in progress that I've started on, and then some yarn acquisitions at the end. So stay tuned for that. Let's get started. So welcome back. I'm so happy you are joining me today. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited for today's episode. I finally have a finished object to show you guys. It's been a couple episodes since I've had anything finished, since I've been working on a lot of garments recently. So the first finished object, or the finished object for today, is what I am wearing. If you have been following the podcast, you may have seen this work in progress, and I'm happy to say it's finally finished. So here it is in all its glory. I will take it off in a minute and show you more details. So this is the O Knot Cardigan by Taylor Owen. She is a knitting podcaster here on YouTube. If you're not aware of her already, make sure to go check her out. I will link her channel down below, so check that out as well. And so she's a knitting podcaster, but she's also been designing patterns recently. So that's really, really fun. This is actually her first garment pattern, and I was a test knitter for it. So this pattern is actually released now. It is on Ravelry. I'm not sure if she's released it on any other online platforms, but I know it's on Ravelry for sure, so you can go check that out. I'll probably also link that down below. And yeah, it's just, I'm so excited that mine has finally been finished. So here it is. I will try to stand up to show you all of its details. So it is a cardigan, and it has some buttons down the middle here, and there's a lot of cables. Since it is called the O Knot Cardigan, that's kind of based on the cable design on the front and also the back. So I'll turn around so you can see the back cables. So hopefully you can see this. There are cables running all the way down the back side. Just super, super gorgeous, I think. So, so cool. So this was a really, really fun project. Took me quite a while, but that was okay. And yeah, I think it took me about a month, maybe a little over a month to make, which actually for a garment is pretty quick for me. But yeah, it took a little bit. So anyways, I will tell you about some few adjustments that I made to the pattern. So first one was I made the arms a bit longer, I think about 2 inches longer. So what ended up happening is when I blocked the arms, or when I blocked the whole thing, when I was knitting them, I had made them 2 inches longer, but I think when I blocked them, they grew even more, which tends to happen, especially for woolen spun yarn like this is. So they ended up being a bit longer. But that's actually okay because it enables me to roll up the bottom of the sleeves here. Hopefully you can see it's folded. So that's actually really cool. I've been wearing this already quite a bit, and it's just been so much fun to wear and so cozy and warm and comfortable. So yeah, I've had it rolled up most of the time, but then when I'm outside, when I go outside and it's a bit chilly, then I can just roll it down like this, and it kind of can cover my hand if I want it to and make it nice and cozy. So I really, really like that. And then another big adjustment that I made was to the button band. So in the pattern, she says to put the buttons on the right side of this button panel here, but I actually chose to put it on the left side because I found that basically all of the button-down shirts, blouses, and jackets that I already own, they're all on the left side. All the buttons are always on the left, and that's just, it feels natural to me to button things that way. So I just swapped it because that's what I prefer. So that's what I did. And I also did fewer buttons. I think in the pattern Taylor uses 10 buttons, I believe, along the button band. I chose to use 8 because I used slightly larger buttons, and it looked too chunky when I had 10 buttons. I was kind of laying it out before I sewed on the buttons, and it was overpowering, and it was taking away the the focus on the cables on the sides. So I just chose to do 8 buttons. And I'm really, really happy with these particular buttons. I ended up going with these buttons. They are kind of Celtic knots. I'll probably insert a closer up image of what they look like. And I think they go so well with the O knots because it's kind of that, you know, knotty Celtic sort of a look of the design. So I think that pairs very nicely. So I am just so happy with how this garment came out, and I will be inserting more photos here so you can see more detailed photos of this garment being worn. And I'm also going to link the Ravelry page to this project down below so you can see all of my details there, more photos, and all of my notes about this project and how I feel about it. So in my opinion, I think it came out the perfect size for me. I ended up doing the 36-inch bust size, which I don't have a 36-inch bust. I don't have a 36-inch bust. I have a 34-inch. But I like when cardigans especially are a little bit oversized, so I chose to do this size of the pattern. Chose to test knit this size, and I actually really like it. It's not too tight ever anywhere, so I like that part about it. And this was my first time ever doing a button band, ever doing knitting button bands, and I really, really like how Taylor has you do it in the pattern. It's very ingenious and very simple, so that was super awesome. I highly recommend this pattern, by the way. It was a lovely time to knit, and it is in worsted weight yarn. I'll talk about the yarn, just in case you haven't seen anything about this garment already from me. Real quick, the yarn is Harrisville Designs Highland yarn. That's the base, Highland. And I don't remember the colorway. If I remember, then I'll put it here if I can find which colorway I used. Actually, I think it's walnut. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, walnut. It's kind of a cooler toned brown. Not sure how the color is going to come up here, but that's kind of what it looks like in person. It's kind of a cool toned brown. And it also has some cool specks of gray and yellow all throughout it. So I really like that. That's really cool. So yes, since this is a worsted weight garment project, it makes it go a lot faster, makes the knitting go a lot faster. And also it makes it a very nice chunky weight, or not chunky, but it gives a very nice feel to the cardigan. It has a lot of structure and it's got weight to it, if that makes sense. So I'm really, really happy with it. So down below here towards the bottom, we also have some pockets. So these are wonderfully sized. I think you could fit quite a few things. If you're going out somewhere, maybe to the store or something, you wouldn't even need to bring a purse or anything. You could probably just fit everything in here. And I actually tried fitting my phone in these pockets. It just barely fits. So that will work if you want to put your phone in them too. I have a huge phone with a huge case on it, so that's not a good comparison, but your phone would probably fit in these pockets as well. So this was also my first time doing pockets, knitted pockets as well. So with all of these details, you can imagine there's a lot of finishing involved. So finishing this garment took a lot longer than I was expecting. I finished it before I blocked it. I was kind of going back and forth of whether I should sew down the pockets and sew in the buttons, and this is also steeked, which I'll get into in a minute. So there was a lot of finishing involved, and I was debating whether to do the finishing before or after I blocked it. I ended up doing it before, just because I thought everything would meld together better if I had done it before, and everything could kind of, you know, lay flatter that way. So yes, that's what I did. And it's also steeked. So down the middle is where it's steeked. So basically what she has you do in the pattern is while you're working the body, it's worked top up. Sorry, it's worked bottom up, not top up. That doesn't make any sense. So it's worked bottom up and in the round, which I really, really liked about it. You didn't have to do very many purls. The only purls you would have to do is in the cable sections. So me not really liking purls, or at least for long stretches of time, that was really nice. So yes, it's worked in the round, and So how that is that you don't have the button band. Kind of the button band is put on after. Pick up stitches and you put it on after. So there was just kind of a panel of just plain knitting here in the middle, and then like all the way up. So then when the body was finished, you would slice up or steek up the middle through that knitted portion, and then you would pick up stitches on the sides and do the button band. So my steek is here. I have sewed it down, and it's kind of actually difficult for me to see where it is. I think the edge of the steek is about here, like all the way down. So that took a long time to sew in, just with my little darning needle and some extra of this same yarn. I just sewed it in. And this was my first steek as well. So a lot of firsts with this pattern. First buttons, first pockets, first steek, first big garment with cables. This was a really, really fun project. So yes, my first steek. So before I actually steeked it, before I cut it up the middle, I was researching different ways to ensure that the edges wouldn't go crazy and fray all over the place, because I was really scared about it, unraveling really easily. But that didn't end up happening at all. When I steeked it, it stayed together very nicely. And I think that's due to the type of yarn that this is. It is a woolen spun yarn, so it's got a lot of fibers sticking out of the yarn itself. It's very fuzzy in a way, so it's very sticky and it holds on to itself. So when you steek it, when you cut it, it doesn't fray or like unravel very easily. So that was really, really helpful and nice that I didn't have to worry about it. So I didn't sew anything. I didn't do any sort of, I know people do some crochet sometimes. They pick up stitches with a crochet chain. I didn't do that either. So I just cut it and then I sewed it down on the inside. And I kind of hid the raw edge, so the raw edge isn't sticking out anywhere on here. It's kind of folded under, and then I sewed it like that. So I think it'll stay. I think it'll be sturdy enough and stand the test of time. So yes, that is just about everything, I think. If you want to know more details, you can check my Ravelry page again, and also check out Taylor's podcast. I know she's talking about this garment on there now, and go check out the pattern. So yes, with that all said, let me get into the new projects that I've started on this week. So if you are a regular viewer, you may have noticed I didn't post a podcast last week. And that is because I was a sick person. I got a fever, and I just was not feeling well. I had, body aches all over, the typical fever, sickness stuff. And I was really concerned. I thought I had COVID, and luckily I don't. The fever passed pretty quickly, and it wasn't COVID. Definitely was not COVID. So I'm doing better now, but I wasn't able to film last week because of that. So this is kind of 2 weeks of progress. That's why I was able to finish this project and also have new things on the needles now. So in that time, when I was feeling sickly and not so great, I wanted to keep knitting, but I wanted some smaller projects. I have a lot of projects in the works right now, but they're all kind of big projects that take a long time and take a lot of effort as far as like focusing on it, focusing on what you're doing while you're knitting. And I just wanted something easy and kind of mindless. So I ended up casting on a little tank top. I found this pattern on Ravelry, and I saw it and I just thought it was so, so beautiful. I was actually looking for projects that would only use one skein of yarn, because I had a couple skeins in my stash that I wanted to use up that were kind of fancy yarns. They're hand-dyed yarns, and I only had one skein of each of them, and I just wanted to use them for something special. So I found this tank top pattern, and for the size that I was going to make, it would take exactly one skein of yarn. So I'm so happy about that, and I think it's really, really cute. So here is how it's coming out right now. I'm like more than halfway done with this already. I've been knitting on it so much, I kind of just got obsessed and carried away with it. So this has been really, really fun to work on. So this is called the Golden Oak Tank Top by Amanita? Amanita, I think is the designer's name. Or that's her designer name, but that's not her name. So I really, really think it's so, so beautiful. So the bottom here, where the lace is supposed to look like oak leaves, which I don't think it quite does right now. I think in the blocking, the way that you block it, you use T-pins to kind of pull it, stretch it in a way that when it blocks and it dries, it kind of makes it look like oak leaves. So I'm really, really excited how that will turn out. But so far, I'm just loving, loving how it's coming out. So again, this is only one skein. I'm not done with it, obviously. There's still a bit more. I think this is about 30, 40 grams maybe that I have left. So that's almost done already. I can't believe it. But yes, this is a fingering weight project. So this is fingering weight yarn, and it's a very loose gauge. This is probably the loosest gauge of a fabric that I have ever made. It uses quite large needles for fingering weight yarn. I think it uses size 6. Let me see. Yes, it is size 6 US needles. I'm not sure what that is in metric, but they're US size 6. So pretty large for fingering weight yarn, I would say. And I did do a gauge swatch just because I wanted to make sure that it was going to be the right gauge, since it is such a strange, I mean not strange, but it's not what I'm used to, so I wanted to make sure that it was correct. And my gauge swatch did come out correctly, and it does produce kind of a holey yarn, fabric, sorry, not yarn, not holey. But, you know, the stitches are not close together, so it's very, very breathable, which I guess is good for a tank top because I will be wearing it in the hot Californian summers here in Los Angeles. So I'm actually thinking that this is going to come out really great. And if I can't wear it just on its own and I have to wear maybe a sports bra or something underneath, I think that'll be fine. So yeah, I'm really, really excited how this is coming out. And the yarn that I'm using is a Ritual Dyes yarn. So Ritual Dyes, if you're not aware of them, they are a yarn shop and, you know, general knitting supplies shop based in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, I believe. I know they're in Oregon. But yes, the owner of that shop, I think she is the one who also dyes some yarn. So I was looking on their website a few weeks ago and I made an order from them. And I ordered this yarn, among some other things. But this yarn is a fingering weight yarn. I'm trying to remember the base name. So yes, they are from Portland, Oregon. I'm looking at the tag right now. So this particular yarn that I'm using is called Beast. I think that's the base name. And it is 65% superwash merino wool and 20% silk and 15% yak. I saw that base and I was just, oh my gosh, I have to try it. I've been wanting to try yak fiber for so long. I've felt it in shops before and it's just so soft and lovely. So I had to get my hands on this skein and I just thought the color was so beautiful as well. The color is Taurus, so it's part of their Zodiac collection. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but they basically had a bunch of different colorways based on different zodiac signs, which I am actually an Aries, but I liked this color the best, so this is the one that I got. So it's kind of a grayish pink with little red speckles all the way around it. So I think that's really, really cute. And as I'm knitting this up, it actually really reminds me of Valentine's Day. It really looks like a project that I could be working on for Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, that's already passed, and maybe I'll wear this for next year's Valentine's Day. But yes, this project has been a very, very fun knit so far, thus far. And basically, the only difficult part in it was the lace at the bottom. You just have to pay attention to the chart in the pattern. And then you get to the happy stockinette part where it's kind of in the round and mindless. So that's what I'm on right now, the main body. And as you can probably tell, it's worked bottom up. So this hem here is where I cast on and started, and I'm working all the way up. And then at some point I'll be splitting for kind of the triangle sleeves, and then you, or not the sleeves, but you know, the top portion. So I'm really happy how this is coming out. The fabric is so soft and so lovely. I'm just so excited to start wearing this. I just want to finish it as soon as possible and block it so I can start wearing it, because I know I'm just going to love it and wear it all the time. I'll probably make another one because this has just been coming along so quickly, and it only takes one skein and it's just great. So yeah, I think that's all I'll say for this project this week. And now on to the next new cast on that I did this week. So I also had a skein of Wool & Vine yarns that I purchased quite a while ago, and I purchased it just because I thought it was so pretty and didn't have any idea what I was going to do with it. You know, nothing in my mind that I was planning it for, and it's just been kind of languishing in my stash, and I really wanted to put it to good use. So it is a sock yarn that I purchased, and it is also fingering weight, so I thought, why not make socks with it? So I had been looking through my 52 Weeks of Socks book. I got this for Christmas this year and have not been able to fully dive into it and dive into all the lovely patterns in here. So this is my first project from this book. So what I cast on is called Lotte, I believe that's the name. Here, let me find the page. They give you this little tab, and it's really nice, so you can get to which one you're working on. Yes, Lotte. So it's number 25 in the book, and I just thought it was so beautiful. So here is a photo of what it looks like, and I'm actually changing it a little bit. I'm not doing these little stripes here at the top. I decided to omit those just because the colorway that I have has some speckles throughout it, and when I actually tried, I actually knit the stripes in there. I had some other yarn that I knit in with it, and then with the speckles though, it looked kind of strange to me. I don't know. So I just omitted those. So I'm just doing the lace all the way down. And I'll show you what the socks are looking like so far. So here we go. I am working them 2 at a time. This is the first time that I'm ever doing socks 2 at a time, or any kind of a pair. This is the first time I'm doing them 2 at a time. So I had to split the yarn into 2 separate balls because of the nature of knitting 2 at a time. I was working from one skein. I had caked this up into one cake, and I was working from one cake at first, and it just got way too messy, so I had to split it, which that was a mess. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, this has been my first time ever doing 2 at a time socks, and it's coming along quite well. I'm actually really liking the process. So basically, if you haven't done 2 at a time socks, I would highly recommend it, or mittens, or you know, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be socks, just any kind of a pair of something. But anyways, I do highly recommend it for patterns that usually a lot of patterns don't always depending on the design. A lot of patterns don't always tell you how many rows to do. They tell you how many inches to knit. So in that case, if you're doing a pair of something, you would have to either count out all of your rows if you want them to be super exact, or, you know, it could get kind of messy. So for this pattern, since it does go by inches, it does tell you, you know, how many inches to knit instead of how many rows to knit. I decided I would do them at the same time, so hopefully it would make the process faster and maybe easier, save some time. When I was looking up how to do this, however, I did see that people were saying if you make a mistake, you have a mistake on 2 pieces instead of just 1, so 2 pieces that you would have to rip back and do it again. But that's okay. I'm actually okay with that if I make a mistake, which I actually already did with the whole knitting the stripes in and then taking them out. I don't know if that was really a mistake, but I just decided against it. So anyways, I have just a little bit done on these so far. So we have the cuffs at the top, so it's just some simple ribbing up here, and then I have started on the lace bit. There's just a very, very little bit. You probably won't even be able to make it out yet, but I think these are going to be so cute. And so the yarn that I'm using, again, is a fingering weight, and it is a BFL nylon blend, I believe, which I'm really, really liking. I think it's going to be a really great sock yarn, which I think Boleyn, Kristen is her name. I think she actually says that this is her favorite sock yarn. So it's her own yarn, you know, it's one of her bases. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really nice sock. So I'm loving how these are coming along. And the colorway also, I should tell you what the colorway is. It is Solstice, and I think that's just such a perfect name for this. It's kind of a muted gray with some cream bits and some blue and black and yellow speckles throughout, like very, very sparse, very, very delicate and small. I think they're just so, so beautiful. I'll probably get some closer up photos so you can see the yarn better, but it's really, really nice. I really like it. So I think these will be really nice socks to wear. I'm not planning on babying them at all. I'll probably be wearing them in shoes and wearing them out because I think the base is strong enough that I can do that. There's some other socks that I've knit that I only wear them indoors and try to baby them a little bit because, you know, it's not superwash yarn and doesn't have nylon and it might not be as strong as something like that. But yeah, so I'm really liking how these are coming out. And this is definitely going to be a fun project for me to just chuck in my purse. I like to go on little walks and knit in the park sometimes. So this will be a really nice little thing that I can just take along with me. And it won't be such a gigantic project like some of my other things. So this is the last whip that I have to show you guys today. And now I will get into some lovely, lovely yarn that I have received recently. So if you are a returning viewer to this podcast, you will probably have seen me mention the Tudor Roses KAL that we are having right now. So the Tudor Roses, if you're not aware, is a knitting book that is done by Alice Starmore and Jade Starmore, her daughter. So Alice Starmore is a knitwear designer, and her Tudor Roses book is just a lovely, lovely book, chock full of beautiful, beautiful knitting patterns, all designed around the Tudor era style and women, but she's kind of made it modern, so it's not like, you know, exactly what the Tudor women would have worn, but it's inspired by it. So just so many gorgeous patterns in that book. And this year, I am co-hosting a KAL for that book, so we are making anything from that book, either one thing or multiple things. So I highly would recommend that you guys join the KAL if you find that interesting. I will link the book below, so make sure to go check that out and see the gorgeous, gorgeous photos of these garments. They're just so beautiful. I literally want to make all of them. But my first garment is going to be the Anne Boleyn design, which I'll put a photo here of what that looks like. And I'm also very, very excited to say that I am partnering with Jade Starmore and Alice Starmore in this endeavor. They have so kindly sent me the yarn to create the Anne Boleyn, and I am making it in a different colorway than the original shown here. So I'll show you what the yarn looks like. It is just so beautiful, so luxurious and lovely. So here is all of the skeins, and all of these are needed to make the Anne Boleyn. So if you actually go on the Virtual Yarns website, which is Alice Starmore's yarn website, this is all Alice Starmore's yarn. It's called Hebridean 2-ply, and if you go on their website, they have a lot of garment packs. So it's kind of a bundle of yarn that they already have picked out for you. So say you want to make a particular garment, you can go to the website and then they have the garments all listed, and you just go to the page and then you can select your colors for whatever the design happens to be, and then they package it all together for you and give you the exact amount of yarn you need to create whatever piece it is. And it's just really, really nice, really wonderful way to do it instead of having to go through and calculate it yourself. So that was so, so lovely. So yes, I did all the selections of the colors, which was a lengthy process, and you guys were involved if you saw that episode. And I am so happy with the yarn. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So we have 5 colorways here, and I'll tell you what they are in a minute. But I just wanted to tell you the yarn is so lovely. So this is the Alice Starmore Hebridean 2-ply yarn, and it is woolen spun, which is the same style of yarn as I showed you earlier. This garment is made out of woolen spun yarn. So that just basically means that it's as minimally processed as possible, so you really get that wool feeling from it. And then you can also do so many different types of projects with this, different types of crafts, not just knitting. Actually, Alice Starmore talks about this on her website, but it can be used for felting and embroidery and so many different things besides knitting. But yes, it is just a lovely, lovely yarn. I will say, usually, at least from the yarn that I have felt in my life, as far as woolen spun yarns go, woolen spun yarns sometimes can be a little bit scratchier than maybe a worsted prepared yarn, just because those fibers are sticking out and they can kind of be pokey a little bit. But I will say that this is one of the softest woolen spun yarns that I have felt. It's very nice and luxurious feeling. So I love this. This is the first time that I'm ever feeling Alice Starmore Hebridean 2-ply yarn. This is the first time that I've ever gotten from Alice Starmore, so it's just so nice. So this colorway is called Pebble Beach. It's kind of a really cool, maybe like a grayish blue with a lot of different colors in it. So there's yellows and greens and blues and reds and purples and basically every other color in this, but I think it generally gives you a grayish blue overtone look. Hopefully you can see that. And another thing I will say about these yarns, this yarn, I will say one of the other things that really drew me to it and made me want to use her yarn for this project is the gorgeous colors that she can achieve. So another way that this is prepared is that she dyes the wool in the fleece, or maybe not in the fleece, but still in the wool state before it is spun. So what she ends up getting is a yarn that she has mixed a lot of different colors or multiple colors to achieve kind of a variegated look. Jamieson & Smith and Jamieson of Shetland also do this kind of preparation where they mix a bunch of different colors of fibers that they've already pre-dyed, and then it gives you a lot of different colors in one piece of yarn, if that makes sense. So, for example, like this one, this is called Driftwood, and this one is kind of a purpley pink if you look far away, but then if you see it up close, it's got like speckles of purple, like a deep purple, and then also some like tan and pink throughout it, and it's just so subtle and lovely. And then another color that I'm going to be using is Corn Crake, and this one's really cool. It's kind of a muted gold, which this one is so cool. I think I might want to make a garment someday just of this because I think it's such a beautiful color. So this one actually has a lot of green in it. I'm not sure if you'd be able to tell that, but yeah, there's a lot of green in this as well. Kind of orange and yellows and greens. And so those are going to be, oh, and also this one. This is Spindrift. This one's kind of gray and yellow. So those are going to be the contrast colors in my Anne Boleyn. And then the main color will be this one. Oops, dropped one. But the main color will be this color, which is Solon Goose. I'm actually not sure how to say that. I think it's Solon Goose. But it's kind of this really cute, soft blue, maybe a yellowy blue, like a warm blue. So I'm really happy about that. It's such a beautiful color. So yes, I'm really excited to start on this project. And I was going to start on this week, just just so you can see it in its beautifulness. It's just so nice how she wrapped these up all perfect. So yes, Jade Starmore did send me these so kindly. She did send me these. But I will say, even if she hadn't sent me these, I would have purchased them anyways with my own money. It's just lovely, lovely yarn. So I highly recommend their yarn. So yes, I am very excited to be working on the Anne Boleyn. So excited to get started. And I'm definitely going to be doing a gauge swatch for this pattern. I have heard a lot that Alice Starmore patterns, the gauge is quite tight, quite dense, so it creates a really nice dense fabric, which I'm really excited about. But I think I might not have the right gauge if I just go straight into it. So I'm definitely going to do a gauge swatch. So that is going to be so exciting. So that is the last thing that I have to share with you guys for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already to this channel so that you can see all of my updates for these projects as well as others. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.